Hey y'all, we're back with the Suspense Squad, and we have a fantastic author with us tonight, Miss Lynn H Blackburn. Everybody say hello.
Hi, Lynn.
Hey, Liz.
We're so glad to have her. Lynn is a published author with Revell. She's got a series of books out previous to the one that's coming out now, and the one that is coming out soon in March is Unknown Threat. Lynn, why don't you hold that up for us and read us the back blurb copy, or tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, so after 4 Secret Service agents die under unusual circumstances within a 10-week span, FBI Special Agent Faith Malone is put in charge of the investigation. She'll have to work alongside Secret Service agent Luke Powell to bring a killer to justice before Luke's name joins his friends on the Wall of Honor.
So Luke, and say her name one more time.
Luke and Faith.
Luke and Faith. Okay.
Yes.
We have several questions for you tonight that we're going to start with Miss Hope. You want to go ahead and ask your question to
Sure,
Lynn?
I'll be glad to. Hey, Lynn, it's good to see you.
Hey, Hope.
The question I have is, you mentioned that your new series is about the Secret Service. And really, I think most of us think of the Secret Service as the guys who run along the car next to the president. But I would like for you to tell me a little bit about your research into this and maybe something that was surprising that you found.
I'm very fortunate to have an acquaintance who was recently on Detail. I probably wouldn't have tried to write it if I didn't have somebody I could at least say, hey, I mean, it's not like he's going to give away any secrets, but just some of their general methods and how things work at the Secret Service. And he wishes to remain anonymous, but he's been a huge help in that. And the thing that surprised me the most was all the stuff the Secret Service does that has absolutely nothing to do with protecting the president. Because you're right, what we do see is the guys running alongside the car, or, with the suits and the little wrist stuff, and they're talking, and the sunglasses, which by the way are not required, even though it feels like so they have to wear the sunglasses. But it's actually a 3-phase process, and most agents only spend a very 3 to 5 years of their career actually on a true protective detail, where they're assigned to protect the president or vice president or whoever Congress has decided currently warrants Secret Service protection. There's a little bit of difference there. Sometimes they stay longer when they're not in active office, like when a president has retired or something like that. Sometimes the agents can choose to stay on a detail and follow them where, Texas with the Bushes, or, wherever, I guess New York for the Clintons, that kind of stuff. They actually start out investigating. They do mostly cybersecurity, financial type crimes. And I think the thing most people do know that they do is counterfeit bills. Anytime counterfeit bills are passed, that ultimately makes it to the Secret Service. The protective aspect of the Secret Service trumps everything else. So no matter what they're investigating and no matter what they're working on, if a protected member comes into their area, like the president, the vice president, whoever comes into their area, everything gets dropped and everybody does protection while that person is in the area.
But they
So that was something.
They don't have their own team, like the president.
The president does have his own group that's with him, but then wherever he's going, those local agencies, because they know their city the best, they know the players in the city, they know the other law enforcement in the area, so they typically would send someone, an advanced person will come from the president's detail, for example, just using the president's example. An advanced team would come from the president's detail to Raleigh, but then they would work with the Raleigh agents to flesh out what they're doing. The Raleigh agents would be on the ground as well, possibly to Charlotte, Greensboro, anybody. They would pull people in from the surrounding area to get what they need for that particular event, whatever it is.
I don't think I didn't realize they had field offices like that.
Yeah.
I did not realize. Did y'all realize that they had field
No.
offices?
I had no idea.
There is an office. There's a field office. I think the field office in North Carolina is in Charlotte, which makes sense. And then there's an office in Greensboro and an office in Raleigh. And then it depends too, like, because of the United Nations and the stuff that happens in New York, all the foreign heads of state who are frequently in New York. If they call it phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, and if you're in phase 1 up in New Jersey and New York, somewhat Pennsylvania, anything in that area, but especially New York and New Jersey, you could spend 90% of your time doing protection because of the amount of protective work that they have to do for visiting heads of state. Whereas if you're in North Carolina, you're probably going to do more investigative type work.
All right, let's move on to Miss Sammy. Sammy, you got a question for Miss Lynn?
I do. Hi, Lynn. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So we all know, as you were just saying, research is a huge part of writing. And I venture to bet one of your favorite ways to research was MurderCon.
I love MurderCon.
So would you tell us a smidge about MurderCon so that everybody knows what it is? And then what was your favorite workshop?
So MurderCon, several years ago, it was MurderCon's part of the Writers Police Academy. So if you're Googling it or something like that, you can look up the Writers Police Academy. And I was able to go right after I sold my first book to Love Inspired Suspense that summer. They had an opening. I happened to be on Facebook that day, and I saw something that they had an opening. They had like 10 slots open. And this was when it was still in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is only a 3-hour drive for me. And I messaged my husband and I was like, is there any way I can make this happen? And he said yes. And I made it work. And I was able to go. That was in 2014. And so I have to throw that out there because while I was at my very first Writers Police Academy, I went to a demonstration of a law enforcement dive team, which is where the dive team investigation series idea came from. So that's definitely high on my favorite list of any of the classes I've ever taken there. And then they moved the whole conference up to Wisconsin, and I haven't ever made it to any of those. But then 2 years ago, I guess, they brought it back down to the Raleigh area to Searchy, and they did it as MurderCon, and it was specifically focused on investigations and things related to that. I do think the blood spatter class was my favorite. I love that. It was very interesting. We had blood everywhere.
That was fun.
Which you have to be careful who you say that kind of thing to. People kind of give you the side eye. But it was, although my kids saw the pictures on my phone, were a little bit alarmed because, we took a few pictures. We had so much fun. But anyway, it was really cool because we did get to look at, how you could try to clean up blood and what different, blood splatter would look like and that kind of stuff, which was very cool. There was also a really great one on footwear, like using footprints and the importance of, there's apparently an entire database about shoes, and like you can look up specific shoe types, and they have a database for shoes. So that one was awesome and great. But I think just for pure fun, the blood splatter class. But the first year I went, I did get to tour the jail. I don't think they did that this last time. But it was all by lottery. You just applied to see if you could get any of the outside stuff, and they took us on a tour of the jail in the Greensboro area. And that was an eye-opening experience.
Like an active jail or one that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
no, it was a real jail. But they showed us, like where they do the, where they come in and how they bring cars in. And it was fascinating. And
was it a maximum security?
Cool. No, it was just there. It was the local jail. But I don't know how long people stay. Some of these people obviously were there for a while, maybe waiting on trial or whatever. So, but it was very, very interesting.
Okay, Darlene, you want to ask your question?
Hi, Lynn. So nice to see you. Congratulations on your book. Can't wait to read it.
Thanks.
So I would like to know how you think up your themes for your books.
Okay, so will I get fired if I say I don't? It's not complete. Here's the thing. I am not opposed to having a general idea, but I have found for myself that most of the time I don't really know what the theme is until I'm done, at least until I'm done writing the first draft. And usually by the time I get to the end of it, then I can see, oh, that's what this was about. But I don't necessarily start with a specific theme in mind, in part because I don't want to get too preachy about it. I want it to be a little bit more organic and just come out.
I love that.
I know for myself that I've never written a book that didn't at some point in some way touch on God's sovereignty and his faithfulness when everything goes wrong. And I think that's an underlying theme in everything I've written. But then from there's also tends to be Unknown Threat has a heavy forgiveness theme, which so did One Final Breath. So, and actually so did Covert Justice. I mean, there's some themes that I think it has probably something to do with just that, the nature of how our spiritual life, what we work through and deal with, and then it comes out on the page. But I don't usually have a super strong focus of this book is going to talk about this. I just let it happen. And then when I finished writing, especially the first draft, sometimes I can see some of that and I can pull it out and flesh it out as I'm going through in revision and make some of it a little clearer. But I don't start writing it with a specific theme in mind.
All right, we have one more question for you, and that is from Miss Loretta.
Yes.
Hey,
Congratulations on your book.
thank you.
I hadn't seen you in a long time. But
I know. Was it at Lynette's? It's been a
Yeah.
long time. Yeah.
so anyway, my question for you tonight is, what time of day do you find yourself most productive in your writing, and why?
I think I've heard the answer to this one before. I think
So I'm not really sure because I never know. It depends on what's going on. I have a very bad habit of catching my second wind and being very productive late at night. And that's not good because I can't do because I have to be on the road at 7:40 in the morning taking my daughter to school. So I don't my natural rhythm is to be more of a night owl. And I think that may be why sometimes that 9 o'clock at night kind of late evening writing works really well. But I don't always get to do that. And sometimes I'm just so tired by then I can't even find my second wind that it doesn't work very well.
Right.
Ideally, in a perfect world, and it's definitely not first thing in the morning, and I wish it was, because theoretically that would be the quietest time and it would be great. And I've tried to write early in the morning and it's a disaster. I can't do anything that early in the morning except drink coffee. Ideally, mid to late morning would be my sweet spot. It seems I'm awake, I've kind of gotten my day going, but I homeschool. So as a general rule, mid to late morning is not available to me. And even during the summer, my kids are home. So that doesn't typically work out very well. So unfortunately, I frequently find myself writing in the mid to late afternoon, which is actually my worst possible time. But it's the time I have.
Yeah.
And so I have to make the most of it. And I think that's an important observation to make, because especially when you're trying to write with kids at home or when you have a job, there may be an ideal time for you to write, but that time just might not be available to you. And that doesn't mean you can't still do it. It would probably go more smoothly, and it would probably feel more enjoyable if I could write in my sweet spot, but it still has to get done. So I have to make it work even when this nice time isn't really available.
Rumor has it you have a favorite spot to write too.
I have a favorite spot.
Mm-hmm.
Like my personal table at Panera. Panera is unaware of this, but I do have a table at Panera. It is mine.
Panera should market more to writers. I think a lot of people write at Panera.
Right.
Well,
Really
and they
should.
messed us up. They remodeled, and instead of my normal table, it became this little round table, which I can make it work. It's fine. And then there was
How
there
dare
was,
they?
I know, right? And then during COVID, of course, everything was shut down. And when they reopened, I was like, please, because it's in the back room. It's relatively quiet, and it's in the corner. There's an outlet. I mean, these are important things. You don't want people all around, and it's anyway. So, and there was a little dicey moment when, because you know how everything is right now, where they'll have like a sticker that says this table's not available. It's sitting right there, but you know they don't want you to use it.
Did you
And
move it?
so,
Did you
no,
move it?
I did not move. I thought about it, but there was a little stretch where I was like, "Where's my table? Is not available." But it is currently back to being that little corner table is available. So, yay!
Do you write every day, Lynn?
No, but I am learning that the more consistent I have opinions on this.
Do I need to edit these out?
No. I think especially new writers, or it can get really, I feel like sometimes there's a mentality that if you don't write every day, you're not a real writer. And I don't think that's true. I think, but I do think that it's important for me to write consistently. I don't have to write every day, but the longer I take a break, the harder it is for me to get back into the story, and the harder it is for me to just get into a rhythm. So I heard at Writers Police Academy, I heard Michael Connolly talking about it, because they asked him, did he write every day? And his response was that he does not write every day, but once he starts a story, that he works on it a little bit every day. So when he's in between books, he doesn't necessarily write every day. But once he begins, and he said that could be a paragraph, it could be a full scene, it could be a stretch of dialogue. He said he just tries to move the story forward a little bit every day. And I've liked that, the idea of just moving the story forward a little bit every day, as opposed to having a set word count or something that could eventually feel condemning about it. But I definitely have found that I'm a better writer when I write consistently. And it doesn't have to be every single day, but it needs to be most of the days of the week, even if I'm not in the mood or I'm tired. And I do take a break. If I have I've also found if I do have a really big output, several days in a row where I write really high word counts, that I will probably need a day or two before I can do much. It's like I need to recharge.
You need some downtime.
Yeah, I do. I need some downtime, and I don't schedule to write on a Sunday, except for while I'm on a deadline, which I'm currently writing every day of the week. But I don't plan to write on Sundays unless it just works out that way. But I try to write a little bit the other 6 days of the week. But that's not, I don't really have unless I'm on a deadline, I don't really have I don't write 1,000 words a day or whatever. I'd be more productive maybe if I did, but I also have young children. I homeschool. I have a daughter with special needs. There's a lot of writing's certainly not my full-time job. And so you just have to kind of find what works for you. But I know for myself, it's not about being a real writer or even being a good writer. It's just, for me, the consistency makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Well, Lainey, thank you so much for joining us. Hold your book back up again so we get really nice and up there where we can see it. Oh, I love that cover. That cover is awesome.
My favorite cover yet.
Yes.
And I told them also, because I'm a Clemson grad, and so there's orange and navy, and it makes me happy.
Yes.
Also, if you go to my website, you might think they planned it that way. I don't think it has anything to do with it, but these are the same kind of colors on my website. Like these colors just make me happy. So I'm waiting on the cover. I'm waiting on the cover for the second book, because I don't know. I was like, you can just make it the same colors and do something a little different in the middle, but I don't know what'll happen there.
Well, they probably will keep it pretty close, don't you think? They'll kind of keep them.
It's hard to see, but it's sort of a scope. You can kind of see the scope.
Yeah, I get it.
So, and there's a Secret Service badge in the corner.
Oh, I like that.
So, yeah, I really liked my dive team covers, but when I saw this one, I was
Yeah,
Very
it's
happy.
beautiful. It's a great
I've never,
cover.
I had not had a Revell cover with a person on it either. So this is my first cover that had a
Yeah.
person.
I like the
which is
light
fun.
that
That's
goes
cool.
through the middle of it. That kind of beam
I
of
do
light.
too, and it
Yeah.
it goes through the spine,
Oh, nice. Yes, very
so
nice.
which is pretty cool too.
All right. Well, if you guys want to read Unknown Threat by Lynn H Blackburn, make sure to go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Walmart.com, chaptersindigo.ca, and Amazon.ca. Did I get all the Canada ones in there? Awesome. Very good. It is on pre-order right now, and I know you will enjoy it. All her books are fantastic, Lynn. You're just a fantastic writer. And we so appreciate you being with the Suspense Squad tonight. So thank
For
you.
having me. This was so fun. Thank you.
Bye.